Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program.
Winaharap na ninyo kami. Winaharap na ninyo ang dangal ng DOH. Winaharap ninyo ang lahat ng mga kasama ko dito.
An emotional Health Secretary Francisco Duque confronts the Commission on Audit, claiming they were denied due process. And it's the senator's turn to investigate the handling of the 67 billion pesos COVID19 funds by the DOH and what causes the delay on the benefits of healthcare workers. And later, a senator also wants to investigate the status of the tripartite deals of LGUs in buying COVID-19 vaccines. Senate Majority Leader Migz Zubiri joins us live. Health Secretary Francisco Duque hits the Commission on Audit report for supposedly destroying the reputation of the DOH. COA has flagged deficiencies in the handling of 67 billion pesos worth of COVID-19 funds. President Rodrigo Duterte also defended Duque and the DOH, saying COA should stop flagging agencies. Now it's the senator's turn to ask the DOH on how they spent the COVID-19 funds. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senate Majority Leader Migz Zubiri. Senator Migz Zubiri, welcome to the source, and it's good to see you again. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Thank you very much, Pinky, and to all the viewers of CNN. Magandang umaga po.
Let's start with this. It's such a big story, obviously, the COA flagging deficiencies in the DOH's budget. I just, want to go back to what the president said, that he was basically saying, stop flagging. And if you do not make this public, personally, what is your stand? Should this be made public, the findings of the COA, in whichever agency that they actually audit?
Absolutely, Pinky. That should be, they're doing their constitutional mandate. Sila po yung auditor, state auditor ng ating bayan, no? And they're mandated to audit not only the executive, but including the legislative. That's why we have co-auditors in the Senate and the House of Representatives. We have co-auditors in the judiciary. They're there to do their job and their mandate, which is to look at the funds, if they were properly utilized, properly managed, if there were any corruption, misfeasance, malfeasance that occurred in the years of which they were auditing. And the COA, Pinky, is a guide. It's a tool for us policymakers and for the executive to do better. Every year they come up with COA reports, which agency it may be. And in these COA reports, they state if you do a good job, or if you did a poor job, or if there was corruption involved or money lost, and how to make your agency much more efficient. That is their constitutional mandate. With due respect to the president, he may have his opinions. He came from the local government. But for policymakers like myself, that has been there since 1998 as a legislator, Pinky, we've used these tools, especially during budget deliberations. Tuwing budget deliberations, Pinky, taon-taon yan, binibigyan kami ng COA report prior to the discussions of the budget, which gives us the proper questions and guides us on how we can manage these budget discussions. Because obviously, kung may isang ahensya na binigyan nyo ng pondo, hindi naman maayos ang paggamit ng pondong ito, it begs us to ask the question when we meet up with these departments or these agencies, na pwede pa ninyo magamit itong pondo for this succeeding year. In other words, yung absorptive capacity niyo ba ay enough? No, it's enough to be utilized for the next year. Kung hindi, we'll cut your budget, we'll give it to another agency that can properly utilize and implement these projects and programs. So, bottom line, Pinky, with due respect to the president, COA is essential for good governance in any administration, in any government. Each and every government around the world, they have the resident auditor. Ganun yun. It is a key institution in all governments all around the world. And it is a tool for good governance, Pinky. And we need COA to continue to give us these reports, to continue to guide us so that we know where there are mismanagement within government or where there was malfeasance, misfeasance, corruption, etc., etc. So
Would
COA
you
is
say-
a very, very important
Would you say it was
agency and a
improper
constitutional
for the
body
president?
which must continue to do its constitutional mandate.
Opo. Would you say it was improper for the president to utter such words?
Hindi naman. Well, you know how our president is. When he's upset, he will say it straight from the heart. Hindi natin mapipigil yan si Presidente pag nagagalit siya. Talagang he gets emotional. Ganun talaga si Presidente. My father is like that. I have a father that's like that. And he says it from the heart and he says what he feels. So, naintindihan ko naman na si Presidente. Pero for us policymakers, again, from our viewpoint and standpoint as legislators, again, COA is an essential tool for governance. It is key and essential for knowing where there are deficiencies in each agency of government and how to improve. The deal there, Pink, is how to improve on it. Diba? Huwag sana mapikon. Huwag ka mapikon. You take these findings, study it well, give your answers, and in this case, in the case of Department of Health, Pinky, the COA naman said it's not what their findings does not necessarily mean it was lost to corruption. Hindi naman binabanggit dyan na tinago at binulsa yung pera. Ang sinasabi lang nila, may unobligated funds, 11.8 billion, undelivered, unutilized equipment, 3.4 billion. Yung procedural deficiencies in procurement, 5.1 billion. Mismanagement of fund transfers kasi ang ginawa po ng DOH, I think with 42.4 billion, was they transferred the fund to another agency to do the building, procurement, etc., etc. I'm not sure if it's the PITC. We'll find out today. So these are tools for us to know how the agency utilized the money we gave them, particularly sa Bayanihan 2, Pinky. Alam mo, nahihinayin kami, Pinky, pag nalalaman namin, we legislate, we work hard as legislators. May pasap po yung Bayanihan 1, Bayanihan 2 para magkapondo po for disaster relief and response, particularly on the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, 11.8 billion unobligated funds. Gusto po namin malaman, ano po itong unobligated funds na ito? Dahil napakasayang naman, naganap po tayo ng pondo, mailagay dyan para may bigay sa taong bayan at hindi naman nila inilabas. Tama, hindi na wala po. Hindi binulsa, nandyan pa yung pondo. Pero sayang naman. For example, if that was supposed to be for expansion of hospital capacity, bed capacity, buying of oxygen tanks or respirators, if it was for buying of PPE and other equipment for the hospitals, kung hindi na-obligate yan, hindi nagastos yan, sayang yung pera na magagamit ng ating mga healthcare workers sana, no? ng ating mga institutions that are in charge to fight COVID-19. So, nahihinahin kami sa mga ganong klase mga resulta ng findings na ito. Then, it begs us again to ask the question, parating na po yung budget sa amin, when we see the Department of Health, kaya nyo ba ito? Gusto nyo ibigay namin to sa ibang ahensya para sila na lang ang gagawa nitong trabaho na hindi nyo nagawa nitong taon na ito. So these are the tools that I'm saying. It's a proper tools that we need as policymakers to guide us for making decisions like this, lalo na sa funding, because these are basically the job of the legislator, which is to identify the projects to be funded for the preceding year.
But that's the thing, Senator. Wouldn't you have wished that the president also saw it the same way you're seeing it?
Well, I don't like to put any words in the president's mouth. Ang akin lang is, of course, this is my personal opinion, my humble opinion, and I think this is the opinion of a majority of the senators. As policymakers, and I've been a policymaker, as I said, for quite a while now, napakalaga talaga ang trabaho ng COA sa pagbantay. You know, Pinky, COA is a deterrent. It's a deterrent for many people to commit corrupt acts in government. I remember nung panahon ni the past administration, so there's even the last administration, the COA was a guide for the ombudsman to act. Kaya maraming natatakot noon na mga mayor, mga governor, mga national NGAs, no, national government agencies na gumawa ng kalokohan or even katamaran, di ba? Kung tamad sila, lalabas yan sa COA report. Di sila gumalaw, di nila ginastos ito, mismanage yung funds, inefficient yung trabaho nila bilang kawani o bilang head dito mga agencies na ito. Whether it is local government, whether it's the national government agencies, whether it's the judiciary or the legislative. Because even the COA gives reports on legislators on how much to spend, sino ba yung top spender, sino ba yung gumastos ng ganito. Meron kaming COA report that we give to the media every year. So it is for transparency.
Okay.
So that is my personal and humble opinion, and I think it's being shared by many of my colleagues in the Senate. And although I respect the opinion of the President, sana po makita po nila na mahalaga ang trabaho ng COA to deter people from malfeasance, misfeasance, meaning corruption, and to deter people from not doing their job. Kasi
So
lalabas po yan pagdating po ng COA report. So it's a deterrence, Pinky. That's why it's very important for good governance.
So, Senator, basically you're saying kailangan ipagpatuloy pa rin ng COA ang kanilang trabaho. Kung may mahanap po sila mga deficiencies sa mga pondo ng mga ehensya, kailangan ipagpatuloy po nila ito.
Totoo po yan, Pinky. Dapat ipagpatuloy po nila ang trabaho nila. That's a constitutional office, a constitutional mandate. You know, in the Constitution, there's only very few offices that were created which are independent from all of us. The Ombudsman, the Commission on Audit, diba? These are offices that are independent from the legislature, independent from the executive, and independent from the judiciary so that they can do their job without fear or favor. So,
All right.
Yan po ang katotohanan dyan at dapat sana tuloy po nila ang tungkulin nila bilang pambansang auditor, ika nga ng ating bayan.
So there will be a Senate hearing today also on the deficiencies that COA found with the DOH. But Senator, there's a lot of other agencies na nakita po na problema or questionable ang COA. But we need to take a very short break. We're going to talk about that. After the break, this is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our guest today is Senate Majority Leader Migz Zubiri. Senator, so today is the hearing with the Senate. Kahapon po, nagkaroon naman ng hearing with the House of Representatives. And, you know, the Secretary Duque turned emotional yesterday. Let's listen.
We're operating under a state of public health emergency. Winarat na ninyo kami. Winarat na ninyo ang dangal ng DOH. Winarat ninyo ang lahat ng mga kasama ko dito. Hindi kami makaharap sa mga tao dahil lahat, ang dami-daming sinasabi, ang dami-daming paratang. Wala pa rin akong tulog. Ilang gabi na po ito.
All right, Senator, just very quickly, because I want to go to the Senate hearing, just your reaction on Secretary Duque turning emotional yesterday.
Well, with due respect to the Secretary, I'm sure he's under a lot of pressure. And alam mo naman, maraming humingi na mag-resign po siya. And of course, he's being defended by the President. He's very lucky that the President loves him very much and is defending him. It's his prerogative to be emotional. I'm sure he's under a lot of pressure. As he said, hindi na siya natutulog. But unfortunately, yung mga healthcare workers, ilang buwan na, hindi natutulog din, Secretary, no, with due respect. For example, Pinky, no, you said earlier, hindi lamang ng DOH ang na-flag ng COA. Tama po kayo.
Opo.
Hindi lang, for the sake of the Secretary, it's not only his agency that is being flagged for several inefficiencies of governance, no, or deficiencies in governance. It was several agencies. I think even TESDA was mentioned in one report,
Yes.
and many other agencies.
You have
So
OWA,
sana,
you
it
have
comes with
DICT.
it comes with the job description.
Opo.
Pinky, you want to be a secretary, you want to be a legislator, you're an elected official, being scrutinized by the public and being audited and being transparent about your transactions is part and parcel of our job description as public servants. So I understand where he's coming from now. He's under a lot of pressure. But let's also look at where all the healthcare workers and all those who got hit by COVID, including myself, are coming from as well. We know how dangerous, this virus is. You know, it has killed many of my friends, parents of my friends, possibly yours also. Also picked na pamilya natin
Alright,
na natamaan ng COVID-19. So we are all under a lot of pressure. And what we need really is good governance. So at this point in time, efficient governance. I'll give you one example. I'm sure we're going to move into this topic. And I'll start it by saying, how about the special risk allowance?
Yeah,
It scandalized me to no fail the other day when I saw nurses from private hospitals wanting to do mass resignation and stop work. They want to do due to the fact that they were not given their 5,000 peso special
SRA.
risk allowance. And that, it boggles the mind, but hindi pa na ibibigay sa kanila. Lahat ng, in fairness to the DOH, lahat ng public hospitals nabigyan na. Lahat. Itong private hospitals, hindi naman siguro milyon-milyon na tao ito, Pinky. Siguro these are tens of thousands. And you're talking about nurses, you're talking about administrative staff, you're talking about pharmacists, all those to make these hospitals run in the private sector. Pinangako natin yan, Pinky, sa Bayanihan 2. Nagbigay po tayo, to be exact, no? Nagbigay po tayo ng 5,000 pesos each per month for these individuals. Nailagay po natin yan at na-budget po ng DBM yan. With due respect to Secretary Abisado, he gave 9 billion pesos to the DOH last June 23, 2021 to cover the payment of all special risk allowance of private and public health workers. So, nandyan na yan, but hindi pa nabibigay. I did a quick study and I talked to some of the or the private sector hospitals, the head of the private sector hospitals. Ang sabi nila, some regions meron na. Ang balita daw, Region 1, Region 2 meron na. Some other regions meron na rin. But about 80% of the regions, hindi pa na ibibigay sa mga healthcare workers. 80%, ang sabi niya sa akin. Ang sabi din, which I'll be asking also today, ang sabi po nila, ang sabi ng DOH, na-download na daw sa regional offices. Okay, kung na-download na yan sa regional offices, bakit hanggang ngayon hindi pa na ibibigay sa private hospitals? Diba? Sa tagal-tagal. They've been working their butts off for the last year and a half, not stopping day and night. I've seen pictures of doctors and nurses in PPE sleeping on the floor. Yan, hindi sila nakakatulog, natutulog sila sa sahig ng kanilang mga ospital. So, ilabas na natin ito dahil sila po ang mga sundalo.
Nawawala ko kayo, no?
Hindi naman tayo pwede maglagay piki ng mga teachers. We cannot get the public school teachers and make them man the hospitals. We cannot get
Senator,
the PNP and police to man the hospitals. It is these gentlemen and ladies who are tirelessly, heroically risking their lives and limb to help people survive this pandemic. Kaya,
Senator, I hope
let us make them feel
I don't mean to
appreciated. They're
interrupt
feeling
you.
unappreciated now. So this is also part and
Senator,
parcel
so
of
ganito po, no?
inefficiency of
I
governance,
know
di ba,
that.
Pinky? So, ayan, sana wag sila magalit na mapikon, ay dawin na lang nila yung tungkulin nila, trabaho nila. Dito lalo na sa special risk allowance na ito, nandyan na yung pondo, gaano ba kahirap na ibigay na sa kanila. 2 weeks last week lang, namigay tayo almost 24 billion of worth of ayuda to how many millions of people and how many millions of families in NCR. Last week alone, they did it in 1 week. People were crying, happily receiving their money. How come sila meron, yung ating healthcare workers, na yan yung mga sundalo natin laban sa COVID-19, hindi pa nila natatanggap yung kanilang special risk allowance. So these are questions
Senator,
that beg to be asked. Di ba, with the department.
Those are definitely good questions.
Hopefully they'll explain today.
I hope that you find the answers there, because that's also obviously the question of the healthcare workers. Yung 5,000 for 22 days, ilan sa kanila hindi pa nakatanggap. So kailangan po talagang malaman ang sagot dyan. Nasaan yung bottleneck? Saan ho nagka-problema? Because if DBM is saying binigay na sa Central, si Central sinabi sa binigay na, dinownload na sa Regional, bakit po si Regional hindi ho ba nakadating sa mga private hospitals? Or USEC kasi Vega was saying also there could have been some sort of miscalculation. So that actually needs to be really clarified and cleared up, hopefully in today's hearing. Senator, again, we just need to take a very short break. The Source will be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our guest today, Senate Majority Leader Migz Zubiri. So Senator Migz is saying that in today's hearing, one of the issues that you'll really look into is the SRA. Let's move on. There are other deficiencies, sir, that COA found. Before we went on air, we talked about the TESTA giving about 160 or something million, I believe, to the NTF-LCAC. Sir, also in today's, if you read today's papers, meron din po yung OWA flagging about 1 million hygiene kits, sanitary napkins, and thermal scanners from this construction and trading company, to which hindi po nila nahanap yung address nitong trading company. And in fact, just to add to that, nakinig po ako kanina sa radyo, sa teleradyo, at yung kanilang reporter nagpunta supposed to be dito sa address na ito, nitong trading company and construction company, pero hindi din po mahanap. I just need to add more. For example, even DITC, headed by former Senator Honasan, meron din pong utilized over 100 million for internet, but the budget was way above that at hindi po nagamit. My question is this, sir. Apart from the DOH hearing, are you guys also wanting to look into the other deficiencies that COA is flagging? Or baka naman po maubos ang oras ninyo sa dami nito?
Actually, Pinky, automatic na yan pagdating sa budget hearing. For example, nakalimutan mo sabihin kagabi na sa news, yung Philippine Ports Authority sa San Fernando, La Union ay gumawa ng infinity pool worth 10 million pesos. I didn't know that they needed an infinity pool in the Philippine Ports Authority office in San Fernando, La Union. Di ba? Worth 10 million pesos. So we will look into all of that. Meron po kaming reports niyan, at pagdating po ng budget deliberations, tatanungin talaga ng mga kasamahan ko yan. At we're going to see and get to the bottom of all these reports by the COA. That's why it's a very important tool. And not only the minority will be asking these questions, including the majority. I'm sure some majority members will be asking the same questions on the findings of the Commission on Audit. So kung hindi po kailangan gawin ng special hearing yan, lalabas din yan, Pinky, during the budget deliberations, which will start on September.
Vaccination, very, very important. You filed a resolution, sir. On this tripartite agreement, so it would be LGU, government, and the pharmaceutical, or private company, pharmaceutical, and government. Kailangan po kasama ang gobyerno dito. At hindi pa po nasa-sign ang ilang mga deals na ito, numbering what? 200 companies you were saying in your resolution and 40 LGUs. Why is this happening, sir? What are they telling you?
Well, alam mo, with this pandemic kasi, Vicky, kailangan all hands on deck na dapat tayo na yun. Dapat magtulungan na lahat. National government can't do everything on its own. And that's why may pondo naman yung local governments under their era, they allocated for vaccines. They want to help also in the distribution and vaccination of their people. Unfortunately, it's not moved. It has not moved since February, since we authored the law. I'm one of the principal authors. I'm the first to file, the principal author of, together with several of my colleagues, of the vaccination law. And we put their particular section, Section 4, Procurement and Administration of COVID-19 Vaccines, Supplies and Services by Local Government Units. That's procurement and administration of COVID-19 vaccines sa local government. And Section 5, Procurement and Administration of COVID-19 vaccines by private entities. So under the law, it is allowed. For example, Red Cross, they can buy, they can purchase, and we have chapters all over the country. So I reached out to by filing Senate Resolution number 858. We filed it yesterday. And with this Senate resolution, we were appealing to the National Task Force for an explanation and for the swift action on these tripartite agreements. Thankfully, si Secretary Galvez, he's a very quick, he moves very quickly. He's an action man. So he reached out to me yesterday and wrote to us formally together with Senator Soto, our Senate President, the explanations why hindi pa daw nila napipirman.
What was the reason?
Fact of the matter, there are several hundred, fact of the matter, there's several hundred private companies like Unilab and all that, Mercury Drug and all these other private entities who also want to bring in vaccines to be able to distribute all over the country to private companies, large companies like San Miguel Corporation, etc., para may bigay din to sa kanila mga trabahante and mga laborers nila. Then you have the LGUs. There's about 42 LGUs, ours included, Bukidnon, that have been waiting for the signing of these tripartite agreements. So this is where we stand as of the moment. Now, this could help because it's about 10 million doses already signed in under waiting for action with the NTF that will come in to help government with their vaccination program. Para hindi lamang po 500,000 a day ang ating vaccination, pwedeng umabot ng 1 million a day ang ating vaccination. Pag ito po ay nagtulong-tulong po tayo lahat, no? Nagtutulungan po tayo lahat. But Secretary Galvez sent us a letter, an official letter, and said that there's still certain problems. Apparently,
Such as?
Yes, apparently some companies, for example, Pfizer, Sputnik, Sinovac, do not want to go, and AstraZeneca no longer want to go with tripartite agreements or bilateral agreements with other agencies aside from the national government. Gusto nila national government now. And then I believe 2 Indian companies, and they'll give further explanation today, 2 of the Indian companies that are offering their services here still have not been given their EUA, Emergency Use Authority, or a go signal by the FDA. So accordingly, this was told to me, and we will find this out today in the hearing, and I'll dwell into this further into the hearing, so that we can actually get the proper picture on what's going on. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng, marami kasing probinsya, Pinky, sa iba't ibang parte ng Pilipinas, no? Far-flung provinces, that they've been getting the vaccines in trickles. May pondo naman daw sila, they're willing to spend so that they can already get herd immunity. They want to inoculate at least 50% of their population with the funds that they utilize, instead of waiting for trickles. Kasi right now, at napanood ko na kagabi, nagagalit na pala, pati si Governor Remulla of Cavite, nagagalit na there's what you call vaccine inequality. No, lahat ay nabibigay sa National Capital Region, which of course is obvious because it's the most populated area. Pero paano naman po yung ibang mga lugar? These far-flung provinces are still getting it in trickles, Pinky.
So we'll find out what the answer will be later. Also a good question, obviously, that you raised about that, because sabi nga ni Governor Remulla, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, sir, ang sabi niya, mas malaki pa daw yung population ng Calabarzon actually kesa sa NCR. Kaya tinawag niyang inequality. But let's find out what happens later. We will be watching. Senator Migz Zubiri, sir, always a pleasure to speak to you. Take care.
Thank you very much, Pinky. Mabuhay po. Salamat.
Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.